What's up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys a new video. So today's video is actually going to be the start of a brand new series titled Exploring the Films of Alfred Hitchcock. And before I get into the first review here, let me just give you a little backstory on this series and why I'm kicking it off. So as a film fan, primarily horror, but I do like all films, I have, talked about movies and made videos on movies and made podcasts on movies, literally hundreds of hours for the last, 6 or 7 years. And I've talked a lot of films in that time. And one thing that consistently keeps coming up is the fact that I haven't really seen many Hitchcock films. And for being one of the most important filmmakers of all time, and talking to people who, respect his work massively and consider him the greatest filmmaker of all time, it's kind of ridiculous, honestly, when you think about it, that I haven't seen many of his films. In fact, I've only seen one film more than once, and I had seen 2 other films one time very young. Psycho, obviously, that's the one that I've seen. I've also seen The Birds, but I don't really remember it because I seen it on Monster Vision as a kid, so I don't really even count that one. And then I had seen Rear Window, over a decade ago. So I don't really remember it all that well. And to see that and, know that, it kind of is almost like, that's ridiculous. Like, how have you not seen any Hitchcock films? So I finally decided in 2019... one of my New Year's resolutions in terms of films was to see more directors' works, such as Hitchcock and a couple of other directors that I've been slacking on a little bit. So that is my goal for 2019, and I figured I would start now. And I picked up this box set here that I've been wanting for a really long time. This is the Alfred Hitchcock Masterpiece Collection, which I always knew that I was going to get into more Hitchcock films once I picked this box set up. And I finally got it. I used some gift cards and things like that, and I think I paid like $7 for it. This box set has, I believe, I want to say like 15 or so of his films, 14, somewhere around there, 12, I don't really remember. But it is a nice box set. It's in this book, like digibook format, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but, it's fine for the Hitchcock films. The first film is Saboteur, then we have Shadow of a Doubt, then we have Rope. After that we have Rear Window, The Trouble with Harry, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Birds, Marnie, Torn Curtain. We have Topaz, Frenzy, and finally Family Plot. So that is the films that are in this box set, and I'm going to go through and watch and review each of these films. And if I enjoy the process and like making the videos, then I will continue on with some of his other work that was released by other companies such as Criterion and Kino. And we'll get to more of his filmography and maybe see everything that's available. So the first film here that we're going to be talking about is 1942's Saboteur. This is the first film in the box set chronologically. There's a man named Barry Kane who is working at an aircraft factory where he bumps into this man named Fry. This man is very weird, and he notices a few things about Fry, such as the items that Fry drops. One of them has an envelope with an address on it. For whatever reason, he remembers the details of that envelope. They are all eating lunch, the whole factory and all the workers are eating lunch, and a fire breaks out. So Kane and his best buddy, pal, go in to fight the fire. Kane is handed a fire extinguisher from Fry, which he hands to his friend, and basically when he goes to use the fire extinguisher, turns out there's gasoline in it. When questioned by police, Kane explains that this man, Fry, gave him the fire extinguisher. The police cannot find any man named Fry who was working there, so essentially they think that Kane had something to do with sabotaging the aircraft factory. This is 1942, of course, with World War II still in effect. Kane begins to go on a run and try to prove his innocence by uncovering the true saboteurs involved in the aircraft fire, as well as, you know, some future sabotage on a dam as well as a U.S. naval ship. So it's kind of a man against the world story. We have this man who is on the run from police, trying to uncover everything that he can about the true people behind the incident at the aircraft factory and clear his name, as well as stop these people in the process. He runs into another character, a female character named Martin, I believe, who happens to be a model. She's very against him, and he almost has to sort of kidnap her in order to progress through the story. Tries to, you know, turn him in and escape him at different points in the story, but eventually, you know, comes around to his side. There are a few themes in this film, one of which is the fact that most of the people that are helping Fry throughout the film are unfortunate, or they ran into some misfortune. There's a blind guy who sees past whatever surface level things are going on with Fry. The, you know, fact that he's a fugitive, and he sees that deep down this is a good guy, and I'm gonna look past that, as well as a group of carnival workers, you know, like the sideshow people. They have a soft spot for Fry as well. Meanwhile, you have like businessmen and wealthy, powerful people, and they are all the ones who are essentially setting Fry up, you know, framing him for this aircraft factory fire. One thing that I really liked about this film is the set pieces. I think a lot of the film was filmed on a soundstage, and you have, you know, like matte painting backgrounds. For whatever reason, that stuff just works for me. I always think that it makes the story feel really epic, even on a small soundstage, which I always give filmmakers credit for, especially in the 40s and during, you know, the Universal Monsters films and things like that. A lot of those were on sound stages, and it just, when you can see how good it works and you appreciate it. And there is some actual locations in this film as well. The scope of this story is never hindered by the fact that a lot of it was filmed in, you know, small settings and set pieces and sound stages. And honestly, like, that's pretty impressive. And I mean, obviously, trust Hitchcock to be able to do something like that, a grand scale film that doesn't really feel hindered by its, you know, budget or you know, structure of filming. And I give mad props to that. And honestly, I just think that it adds a cool atmosphere to the films of this era with the soundstage and stuff. The set design is always fantastic. Like, whoever, you know, the artists were who created these sets were just amazing at their jobs, because they always make it feel so natural. I'd say the biggest problem with this film is just the fact that you have so many instances where I don't think that people would help this man. I don't think that, you know, his story is necessarily that believable. It seems like a lot of convenience and like turning a blind eye. I wish it would have got into a little bit more of backstory of the villains and why they were doing this, other than they were just, you know, saboteurs. They're just saboteurs. That's pretty much the only explanation that we're giving. They're just like anti-us, US, I guess. They are just, they don't really get into if they're like connected to, you know, the Nazis or anything like that. But you kind of make those assumptions that they're, you know, obviously here to sabotage the U.S. and especially, you know, with the aircraft factory and then the naval ship later on. They're obviously not for us in the war efforts, but they don't really get into it too much. There's a pretty cool scene at the end of the film too, involving the Statue of Liberty, which I thought was pretty awesome. Still kind of holds up. There's actually one more scene that I just wanted to mention. There's a scene early on in the aircraft factory where we have the fire and we see a man getting engulfed by the fire. And I actually thought that scene was pretty powerful for 1942. It probably was just a mannequin that fell over in the fire, but still, you know, pretty violent and you know, grotesque for the time. So give props to that scene. So yeah, that's Saboteur. It is a pretty good film. It had a little hiccups there in the middle, but it kind of pulled me back in. I didn't love it, but I thought that it was a pretty good effort from Alfred Hitchcock, and I give it a 7 out of 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode here of exploring the films of Alfred Hitchcock. If this goes well, I could always do one for Dario Argento, Tobe Hooper, even Wes Craven, who I'm very familiar with, but there's still some films that I've never seen. So yeah, I kind of like this idea. It's almost like how we do on the podcast with director spotlights. So we're going to keep cruising. We got a few more Hitchcock films to go, guys. Yeah, I'm having fun. I'm looking forward to watching the next one just because, you know, he's so good. With that said, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Feedback is welcomed. You know, support the videos, and thank you guys. See you later.